Maybe you're getting ready to graduate from high school, college, or graduate school, and you're starting to think about how your writing skills will transfer from school to work. Or maybe you're like me and you graduated kind of a while ago, and you're starting to wonder why they kind of didn't, right? Doesn't always feel like the same kind of writing anymore. Well, the truth is, even though we do write for school and we do write for work, it's not the same kind of writing, is it? That academic feel and that business feel are pretty different. And so it can feel like the skills don't transfer. And in some ways they do, but in many ways they don't. And so let's talk about this. As always, we need to write in a way that's right for the situation. And so there are right ways to write for school and for work, and they're not the same as one another. How can we figure out how to write in each situation? By asking the same questions we want to ask before any writing situation. Who am I writing this for? What am I trying to accomplish? So let's go into it a little bit and discuss those questions regarding both school and work, and then we can begin to understand the differences and how to adapt from one to another. Let's start by answering those two questions in a pretty general way, and then we'll get into how those answers would impact our writing choices. So when you're writing for school, who am I writing this for? Well, you're writing for your teacher, right? And what's kind of helpful about that is you know who they are. You pretty much know what they want. They gave you a writing prompt with a bunch of requirements on it, right? And you also know they're going to read it, and they're even going to finish it. And we don't always know that about business readers, okay? So that's who we're writing for school. For work, of course, we're writing for a big variety of people. Sometimes we know them, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we have a relationship with them, sometimes we don't. And so even with those two ideas so far, we need to be thinking about the information they need, but also how to be relational with them if we do or if we don't know them, right? We may know a lot about them, we may know a little bit about them, but we can study more about them to learn what to do. The other difference between this reader of a business writing piece, say an email, it's different than your teacher reading it because your reader now needs to do something with the information. They may need to act on it, they need to use it to make decisions, right? And we also have to worry, unlike the teacher, it's always possible that a business reader might not read what you wrote, or they might not finish it. We've all read emails where we kind of just read the first couple paragraphs, right? So as writers, we need to think about that unlike our school reader who was sure to read what we wrote, we're now writing for someone who has a choice over whether they read what we've written or not. Now let's think about our second question. What am I trying to accomplish? Well, in school, we were trying to show something. Show that we knew information, content, show that we knew how to do things, like write a thesis, write a nice introduction, use big words, meet a word count, all that kind of stuff. We were mostly trying to show that we had met the requirements in order to be judged by that person who we already knew who they were, right? While at work, of course, we have many different things we're trying to accomplish. Maybe we're trying to inform someone, persuade someone, get someone to trust us more, motivate someone, connect with someone, collaborate and share ideas. So many different reasons to be writing now that we're writing at work. And so those reasons are going to inform what we do as well. And so we want to think about that too. Now, there are a couple of things that transfer from school writing to work writing. One of them is that you're making a point. And so in school, you learned how to make a thesis or a topic sentence or to write out your answer to a question in a clear sentence. Well, every email, report, proposal also needs a central point. So that's still an important skill. And we'll talk about some differences in a moment. And the other similarity that we have is that with both school and work writing, we want to think about what our reader wants from us. Now, we knew how to do that really well with our teachers because we would have that assignment sheet prompt and we'd say, oh, okay, they want it to be 5 pages. They want me to cite this many sources. They want me to use these historic concepts or these artistic concepts or whatever the case may be. But now we still want to think about what our reader needs. It's just that they haven't written it down on a paper. I would suggest that you check out the Think About Your Reader video to get a little more depth about this. But really, when we think about our reader, we're thinking, what do they need? What do they want? What do they value? And do they have any biases that we need to keep in mind? So we're trying to analyze them a little bit kind of psychologically before we start writing to them. So despite those similarities, we know there are quite a few differences between school and work writing. Differences that we can always see when we think about who's going to read it and how long is it going to be. So let's talk about some of those differences. First of all, we need to break some habits from school. There are things we learn to do in school that we don't want to do in business writing. And so let's take a quick look. I'm going to reference the High Value Writing book about what skills, what habits do we want to break at this point for business writing. Well, in school we learn to write for a higher word count. We don't want to have that habit anymore. And you know what it's like, where you're sort of adding fluff to make it last longer and meet that 2,000 word count. No longer, right? People want information soon. You're going to front load the information, write in a meaning forward manner, provide the information as soon as you can, instead of after a beautiful long introduction, etc. Secondly, we used to get higher grades for adding description and for using vocabulary words that we'd talked about in class. That's no longer the case, right? A business reader opening an email to find out how to register for a webinar, they don't really need to be impressed by our vocabulary. They just need to get the information right away. Okay, thirdly, we used to read textbooks that kind of modeled wordy, fluffy writing and that tried to be fancy sometimes. We don't want to do any of that anymore for work because people just want to get the information. And sometimes we used to feel, I think, like writing with sophisticated language meant that we were smarter or that we were showing what we knew more. And maybe that worked in school, but at this point, people, again, just want the information. So what do we need to do now? Well, try to break those habits from school and then focus on some new areas. The main difference is going to be studying our reader more, understanding more about what that person needs, and using that to make writing decisions. Typically, your writing is going to come out shorter. You want to focus on being concise. You want to focus on main point forward, bottom line on top. Just tell people your main point. There's no need for a beautiful introduction anymore. We want to use more formatting. Back in the day with school writing, it was mainly paragraphs. Well, that's not really that fun to read, especially in a report or an email when you're scanning and searching for information. So use more headings, use more bulleted lists. It's okay to do things like that in an email too. We're always going to do whatever's most helpful to our real life reader now that we're writing for work. So stick around. If you liked this video, please hit subscribe and like, and we'll bring you more videos next week. In the meantime, pop a question in the comment if you'd like to know a little more about how school and work writing differ. I'll be adding more videos to this series as well, so let us know what you want to learn. Have a good day.